These are the Vibram Five Finger Bikilas, the latest model, or one of the latest models, and they're an absolutely sensational shoe. But many people have written to us and asked, could I make a little tutorial on how to put them on? Now you might think putting on a pair of shoes is no big deal, but when shoes have toe pockets like this, it can be quite a big deal indeed. And in fact, I remember the first time I tried to put the KSOs on. KSO stands for keep stuff out, and they have a high front like this too. And it was so frustrating, in fact, I left them at home, put the Classics on and went out for a run. So I'm going to pop this down on the ground now and show you what I have found to be the most efficient and virtually instant way of putting these on. The first thing you'll notice is that I'm standing on the back of the shoe like this with the big toe of my left foot, and that just anchors the shoe onto the ground. Then I slide the foot through like this, and I use a toe creeping action, you can probably see that there, like this, until the foot gets most of the way up the end. I'm just going to duck down here. I then normally grab the material like this and pull, and you'll see what that does. It pulls the material tight over the toes, and I can already feel that my toes are down the end. And then I reach behind here. I usually don't use the loop just in case the material breaks, and I simply slip the heel counter over the back of the heel like this, wriggle the toes around a little bit, and then pull the Velcro moderately tight. And that's all there is to it. Only takes a second to do. And the other thing that you can't actually see when I do it, I'll just do it on this foot as well, is when I'm putting the foot down onto inside the shoe, I'm literally spreading the toes like I'm spreading my fingers now. So I'll do this one and show you what that looks like. Slide it in, creep the foot. Now this is the point where the toes absolutely have to be spread. Spread, spread, spread. They've gone all the way in. Reach and pull the material. Lets it slide over the toes and allows the toes, I should say, to go right down the end. Pull the heel counter. Velcro. That's all there is to it. Ready to rock and roll. I can't recommend these shoes too highly. I've got an ongoing blog on my website about it. Please read it. Wearing these shoes and running on rough ground will completely change the proprioception, balance, and even your gait. It's been remarkable. I've worn these now for 5 years. The chief adaptations are that the muscles in this part of the foot here, the circumference of this part of my foot is increased about, I think, roughly 10%. And the other thing is these muscles here, soleus, the ones underneath gastrocnemius, but these ones here, their development has increased hugely. And the only thing that I've done in that time is wear the Five Fingers. I'm going to show you how to put the Classics on in a moment, but before I do that, I want to discuss with you some aspects of the design of the Five Fingers which were quite mysterious to me when I first saw the shoes, but now, having worn this pair, for example, for about 6 months or so, I can show you just why they're built the way they are. And not only that, much more importantly, the extraordinary wear that you actually get on the little toe side of the foot, which, as you know, in running shoes just never happens at all. So look, we'll just look at this very closely. If you look at the padding underneath each toe, if I just tilt this like this, you'll see that there's a double layer of rubber underneath each toe. Now if you look here very closely, you'll see it's almost completely worn off on the inside here on the little toe side. And what that shows us, I should also mention there's very little wear here and very little wear across here. Most of the wear in the shoes, in fact, is in the toes. And as I said, this just never happens in running shoes. I used to be a middle distance runner, and in the middle distance running world, this is the place that people wear their shoes first, or sometimes the heels, depending on how you strike. So look at your own shoes and see whether yours are wearing the same as these, and if they're not, just tell yourself every time you're out in the bush or every time you're running over rough ground in particular, just ask yourself, can I feel the outside of my feet as well as the inside of my feet? Because in the beginning, if your conditioning and proprioception is geared to running shoes, you'll find that you will have much more weight on the big toe side of the front of your foot. But in time, as you can see here, in fact, most of the wear actually happens on the outside, the little toe side of the foot, which is quite remarkable. And you'll feel in your feet that the strength of the toes will increase exponentially. Okay, I want to talk now about the little adjustment tag on the back here. Now, some of the people who've got shoes from us and from Max in Sydney have told us that these things here are relatively fragile, like they can be broken, and in fact this clip is broken on this pair. But the point that I want to make is that you don't actually need this at all. And in fact, on a wonderful site called birthdayshoes.com, which is really just an awesome source for all things to do with barefoot running and five fingers, a number of the guys there and girls, they actually take this cord out, and providing the shoe fits you lengthwise, your foot won't come out of it at all. The heel might move very slightly in the back counter, but if the shoe is the right size for you and you actually can fit the actual size that Vibram make them in, you can actually do without this completely. So if this little piece here breaks, don't worry about it, try taking it out. The Classics are still overall my favourite. They're the easiest to get on and off. And apart from when I'm walking in really rough country or jogging in really rough country, the Classics are my first choice. We get into the Classics exactly the same way as getting into the Bikilas, which is step on the heel like this, that anchors the shoe on the ground, push the ball of the foot on the floor so that the toes all spread out like this, and work the toes down to the end, and then simply reach your finger down and pull the heel counter on. So the same on the other side, step on the back of the shoe like so, spread the toes, and there you are. This is a model called the Sprint. The difference with the Sprint compared to all other models is it has this strap across which goes across the instep. And there's one other aspect to it that I want to talk about, and that is the very first time you put on a pair of Sprints, you really need to undo the Velcro at the back here, because if you look at the design of the shoe from the side, you'll see that all of this stretches back, and a number of people who've not known this little trick have bought a pair of Sprints and then found out weeks, perhaps months later, that in fact the shoes are a good half size too large for them. So I'll show you in a moment how to get them on, but the key thing is the very first time you get them on, undo this Velcro at the back here so that when you put your heel into the shoe, you can stretch this right out here, and that way you'll know whether the shoe fits you more snugly or not. And then once you've got it on your foot, then you can join these things back up again. So let me show you how to put these on. So the putting on part is very similar to the other shoes. I'm going to step on the back as I did before, spread the toes apart, wriggle the toes down into the toe pockets. Now here's the difference. Now we reach the heel counter, pull the heel counter back onto the heel like so, and then work the foot backwards into the shoe, and then last of all pull the material over the top of the toes like this. Then do up the Velcro like so, not too tightly, and only then do we then very, very lightly put the back Velcro on. And what happens when you put the shoe on this way is you can be sure that your toes are right down the end, and that the heel counter will actually fit over the back of your heel and not leave that sort of 1 centimetre gap in the back. And for many people, these are the most comfortable model. That's what we've been told. And these are certainly a pair that I can wear all day. Unlike the Classics, because the Classics with that cord that we were looking at before, that can compress on some tendons in the front of the foot here, or the Achilles tendon at the back, whereas these ones here, all the parts of the material that touch your foot are smooth. Having said that, overall the Bikilas are for me personally the most comfortable. They simply fit like a smooth glove all around the foot. But nonetheless, I like to wear them all. And the other thing that's perhaps not obvious about the Sprints and the Classics compared to the Bikila and the other models is the Sprints and the Classics have the thinnest soles. And because I'm trying to train the proprioceptors and mechanoreceptors in the bottom of my feet to the max, I want as little between me and the environment as possible. Okay, get out there and walk and run.